All right, Eunice, you want to start with the introductions?
Okay. This is Reverend Joan. She and I have been prayer partners for probably 20 or 30 years, 25 or 30 years. And both were founding members of Agape and board members and have our scars to prove it. She and I pray together every Saturday night, and that's for me the greatest blessing ever. So I appreciate her being on the call. Her beloved spiritual community is located in Oakland and is doing phenomenal work up there. And Reverend Sandra Jackson is my other long. See, all three of us met when we were like 3 years old. So that's how we can say we've been 30-year-old friends. Sandra and I have the scars from doing youth camps for back in the early 90s, the late 80s and early 90s. And you heard a little bit if you were on the call last time. We go back a lot of years, and I just have enjoyed her. She used to be in San Jose, the Firelights, Church of Religious Science, but now she's back in Georgia. So, well, your roots, your mom and your Nana's roots were in Georgia. So anyway, her beautiful community is West Georgia CSL. So I'm just gonna make it short, sweet. I love these two dearly. We have gotten into some really fun situations often, and we only get to see each other like once a year at the annual gathering of CSL. So, but now Joan is not. She's in Agape, so we don't get to see you and those kinds of things. But we still are connected at the heart.
Yeah.
Sandra, you want to say something?
That's why something like this is really important. This is the nice thing about this, is that our three churches can do something together, which would never happened before, and it wouldn't have happened without this. So while we have done things in each other's churches, we have not had our communities to be together before. So this is really really nice. So people keep coming in, and I keep letting them in. That's why I keep maybe seem like my attention gets pulled away. But so glad that you all are here. And so we're gonna not spend any more time, because we wanna use all our time in a really wise way. So Eunice, I'm gonna do the screen share, and if you wanna go over the rules, we have some ground rules.
The first part, and then you do the rest. Okay. If
Yeah.
you can screen share, because I've forgotten what you had written in my, I'll need to read it to remind me. First of all, this is, I think my personal intention for this coming together is always to grow and to expand in consciousness, to reveal my blind spots so that I may be more present, to live in oneness and unity and a reverence for all life. And that is our vision for our particular CSL Palm Springs community. That's what we hold as our highest intention, to live these principles that allow us to experience that. So this is going to follow the same basic format as last time, where we're going to have a short video. And this video for me is the condensing of all of the history of our United States that brought us to where we are now in a very short 10 or so minutes. And for me, I realized how sanitized my education has become.
I don't know how to mute.
And the video that you're going to see to prime the pump for our conscious conversations is really well done. It's very succinct. It is a very impactful video. So for me, it really gave me a lot to think about and to examine, and gave me a perspective that I never had as in detail before. So I invite you, when you're watching it, to really be really present with your feelings what it's being called up for within you as terms of realizations and insights, and then share from that immediate experience. In our small groups as well as our large groups, we always want to maintain confidentiality because we want to co-create a sacred space and a safe place to be our authentic selves. So we want to maintain that sense of confidentiality. And it's really about empathic and compassionate listening and speaking, and allow our hearts to guide and direct us in that. So our intention for today is to give each person the opportunity to think and speak without criticism, critique, or interruptions from anyone else. Because sometimes when we language what we're feeling, that's the moment of insight and revelation. And we learn a lot about ourselves. We learn where our edge of growth is, and we really have a whole different experience rather than dialoguing intellectually. So we're not going to have a two-way conversation. It's simply we're going to have a set amount of time to share what is our response, or share whatever feelings come up. And then we will listen to the next person without addressing it. And Reverend Sandra is going to talk about that a little bit later, but we won't be addressing what they said. We will be saying what is our experience in the moment. So it will be safe space to really get in touch with what we are feeling and thinking, and insight and revelation. All of this is fertile soil for us to co-create a world that works for everyone, which is the CSL vision. And sometimes to do that, we have to really allow anything unlike that high vision to come up, so that we know what needs to be cleared away, released, healed, and transformed. So that is our intention for this conversation. I know that we're all really looking forward to hearing and listening. When we hear each other, we can really learn about a lot about who they are, but then we learn about how we receive who they are. We can learn a lot about ourselves. So we want to listen with a double thread to what's being said, but also how we are listening in the moment, what's bubbling up into our awareness. So this will be a fertile soil for transformation today. So with that, I'm going to pass this on to Sandra, and she will be talking a little bit more detailed on how the conversation will look. The majority part of our conversation is going to be in the small groups, but then we're really going to allow time to come back into the large groups and share our experience. Sandra.
Okay, so we're going to do breakout groups, and you'll be in groups of 3. You will have 3 minutes each, and so somebody will keep time, the timer, and then somebody will speak and somebody will listen. And then when the timer goes off, your time is up, and the next person will have a chance to speak, and you'll move around your group in that way. Each person, looking on the screen here for a breakout group, each person gets an equal turn speaking. That's why we're doing 3 minutes. What that does is it gives everybody a chance to pay attention to what is being said. And because you know you will have your turn to speak, then you can give your attention fully to the person who is speaking. You're not, and because you're not going to be responding to what they said, you're not going to be critiquing, you're not going to be asking them questions, you're not going to be advising them, you're not going to be helping them in any way to, change their thinking or refine their thinking in any way. So since you're not going to be doing any of that, all you get to do is just listen. You are an attentive listening ear for the people that you are, the persons that are in your group. Okay, so the speaker, when it's the speaker's turn, they are going to use that opportunity to focus on and share their own thoughts and feelings. And then the They're not going to refer to anybody else's, what anybody. And then when you're listening, you're going to give your full undivided attention to the speaker. Don't disagree with them. Don't agree with them. That's not the purpose of this. This is the purpose of this whole experience, is for them to be able to say what they want to say without judgment, without critique, and without being commented on and advised. Okay, we're always told what we should think and what we should say and all that kind of stuff. This is an opportunity for you to just simply say what you want to say and not have anybody tell you that you're right or you're wrong or give you any judgments. Any questions about any of that? Everybody understand? Okay. All right, and then after the video, then we will come back and we'll share. There's going to be another set of questions, but I don't want to give you those questions right now because I don't want you to start thinking about that until we're ready. Okay? I think we're ready for the video. All right. And this is, this guy's name is, his name is Phil Vischer. And he does a post called Holy Post, and it's called Race in America, this particular one.
Why are people angry? Slavery ended 150 years ago. The civil rights movement was 60 years ago. Racial discrimination now. Heck, we even had a black president. So why are people still upset?
No, we can't see.
Okay, so you're not seeing?
No.
Okay, share screen, share. Okay, let me see. Not share. Not to share.
Try it again. Take two.
Okay. I'm starting from the beginning.
150 years ago. The civil rights movement was 60 years ago. Racial discrimination.
Now I have to go down here to screen share. Oh, I know what happened. Okay, I changed things.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. You got it? Everybody see it now?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Can you do full screen?
Wow. Heck, we even had a black president. So why are people still upset? We're going to go through history and we're going to look at some data and we're going to go quickly so this video doesn't get too long. So hang on. These are two households in America. One is black, the other is white. Today, the average black household has 60% of the income of the average white household, but only 1/10 of the household wealth. Why does that matter? Well, household wealth helps send kids to school, helps launch small businesses, stabilizes loss of income, and helps families survive catastrophic events like divorce or unemployment. What's amazing about this number is that there are lots of extremely wealthy African Americans, movie stars, pop stars, 75% of the NBA, 70% of the NFL, Oprah, Tyler Perry, Ben Carson, Morgan Freeman, and there are a lot of extremely poor white families. Think of Appalachia and other parts of rural America. But even when we factor all that in, the average black household still has only 1/10 the wealth of the average white household. How did that happen? Well, here we go. What happened after we freed the slaves, after the Civil War ended? 9 states enacted vagrancy laws, making it a crime to not have a job. The law was applied only to black men. 8 of those states then allowed prisoners, the black men who'd just been arrested for not having a job, to be hired out to plantation owners with little or no pay going to the prisoners themselves. So, that's right, men who had been freed from the plantations found themselves right back on the plantations. Additional laws prohibited mischief and insulting gestures, which allowed more black men to be arrested and created a huge market for convict leasing. Working conditions for these leased convicts could be worse than slavery because the plantation owner leasing the black prisoner had no long-term interest in his well-being. By the turn of the 20th century, every state in the South had mandated racial segregation by law, Jim Crow laws, which supported a social ostracism for blacks that extended to schools, churches, housing, jobs, restrooms, hotels and restaurants, hospitals, prisons, funeral homes, morgues, and cemeteries. White politicians competed with each other to be more strict and specific on segregation. For example, a law prohibiting blacks and whites from playing chess together. No interracial chess playing. That might lead to lawn darts. In 1896, the Supreme Court ruled that these Jim Crow laws were perfectly legal because they, quote, reflected customs and traditions and, quote, preserved public peace and good order. These laws stayed in place until 1954, when the idea of separate but equal was struck down in the ruling known as Brown versus Board of Education. So what happened next after Brown? Well, in 1956, the Southern Manifesto was signed by 101 out of 128 Congress members from the South, pledging to maintain Jim Crow by all means possible. 5 states passed nearly 50 new Jim Crow laws after 1954. Private whites-only schools, dubbed segregation academies, popped up all across the South, many of them Christian. But now widespread civil rights protests, combined with anti-war protests that were occasionally becoming violent, inspired the political rise of law and order rhetoric. Richard Nixon became the first candidate to campaign specifically on a platform of law and order. In 1968, 81% of Americans agreed that law and order had broken down in this country, and the majority blamed communists and Negroes who start riots. Let's go back to household wealth. The average black household has 1/10 the wealth of the average white household. Why is that? Because the #1 source of intergenerational wealth in America is home ownership. And from the 1930s to well into the 1960s, the federal government enacted policies to actively encourage white families to own homes and discourage black families from doing the same. In 1934, the Federal Housing Administration created a risk rating system to determine which neighborhoods were safe investment for federally backed mortgages. Black neighborhoods were deemed too risky, marked off in maps with red ink, in a practice now known as redlining. After World War II, a boom of new suburban housing was built all over the country, much of it restricted by deed to whites only. In 1948, 40% of new housing developments in Minneapolis, for example, had covenants prohibiting purchase by African Americans. So blacks couldn't live in white neighborhoods and couldn't get federally insured loans for black neighborhoods. Until 1950, the Realtor's Code of Ethics specifically prohibited selling a house in a white neighborhood to a non-white family. You could lose your realtor's license if you helped a black family buy a home in a white neighborhood. In the 1930s, the FHA's underwriting manual said, quote, incompatible racial groups should not be permitted to live in the same communities. The FHA went on to recommend that highways would be a great way to separate black neighborhoods from white neighborhoods. The FHA funded huge white-only suburban housing developments, leaving blacks behind in inner cities. After World War II, the GI Bill provided subsidized mortgages to help millions of men returning from war to buy their first home. While technically eligible for the GI Bill, the way it was administered left 1 million black veterans largely on the outside looking in. In New York and New Jersey, the GI Bill insured more than 67,000 new mortgages. Fewer than 100 of those went for homes purchased by non-whites. In 1947, there were 3,200 mortgages in Mississippi guaranteed by the government for returning veterans. Of the 3,200, only 2 went to black veterans. As a result, white families after the war were able to build home equity, growing wealth for retirement, inheritance, and college education for their kids. One historian has stated that there was no greater instrument for widening an already huge racial gap in post-war America than the GI Bill. And then came the war on drugs. Inner city blacks were extremely vulnerable economically. The overwhelming majority of African Americans in 1970 lacked college degrees and had grown up in fully segregated schools. In the second half of the 20th century, factories and manufacturing jobs moved to the suburbs. Black workers struggled to follow the jobs. They couldn't live in many of the new suburban developments. And as late as 1970, only 28% of black fathers had access to a car. When a white man in Cicero, Illinois, just outside Chicago, sublet an apartment to a black family, the white community rioted, setting fire to the apartment building and smashing windows until the National Guard had to intervene. The result of all of this: in 1970, 70% of African American men had good blue-collar jobs. By 1997, only 28% did. As unemployment skyrocketed in African American communities, so did drug use. As drug use increased, so did crime. A dynamic today that we see playing out in white rural communities hit hard by unemployment and opioid addiction. Throughout the 1970s, white America became increasingly concerned by images of black violence shown on TV and in magazines. Drugs were the problem. Drug dealers and drug users were the enemy. So we decided to treat the drug epidemic not as a health crisis, but as a crisis of criminality, and we militarized our response. During the Reagan-Bush years from 1981 to 1991, how we invested money in anti-drug allocation completely changed. The anti-drug budget for the Department of Defense went from $33 million in 1981 to more than $1 billion in 1991. The Drug Enforcement Agency's budget to fight criminality and drug use went from $86 million to more than $1 billion. Then we came to the 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act, which carried mandatory minimum sentences, much harsher for the distribution of crack cocaine, which was associated with blacks, than powder cocaine, which was associated with whites. Mandated evictions from public housing for any tenant who permitted drug-related criminal activity to occur on or near premises. It eliminated many government benefits, including student loans, for anyone convicted of a drug crime. The 1988 revision set a 5-year minimum sentence for possessing any amount of crack cocaine, even if there was no intent to distribute. Previously, it had been a 1-year maximum sentence for possessing any amount of any drug without the intent to distribute. Now, it might seem like we're picking on Republicans, so now it's time to pick on some Democrats. During the Clinton presidency, the funding for public housing was cut by $17 billion. At the same time, the funding for prisons increased by $19 billion. The number of Americans imprisoned for drug crimes exploded. In 1980, there were 41,000 Americans imprisoned for drug crimes. Today, there are more than 500,000, more than the entire 1980 prison population. Most arrests are for possession. In 2005, 80% of the arrests were for possessing drugs, not selling drugs. In a bizarre twist, we also militarized our police forces. Between 1997 and 1999, the Pentagon handled 3.4 million orders for military equipment from more than 11,000 police agencies, including 253 aircraft, including Black Hawk and Huey helicopters, 7,800 M16 rifles, 181 grenade launchers for the police, 8,000 bulletproof helmets, 1,200 night vision goggles. We also changed policing tactics. A no-knock entry is when a SWAT team literally breaks down your door or smashes in through the windows, like in E.T. when the cops come flying in from every direction looking for E.T. So back to Minneapolis. In 1986, Minneapolis SWAT teams performed no-knock entries 35 times. 10 years later, in 1996, they performed no-knock entries 700 times. That's 2 every day. There were financial incentives for arresting more drug users. Federal grants to local police departments were tied to the number of drug arrests. Research suggests the huge surge in arrests from increased drug enforcement was due more to budget incentives than to actual increases in drug use. So what was the result? An explosion of our prison population. In 25 years, the U.S. prison population went from 350,000 to over 2.3 million. The United States now has the highest rate of incarceration in the world. We imprison a higher percentage of our Black population than South Africa ever did during apartheid. Data shows that the increased prison population was driven primarily by changes in sentencing policy. There was no visible connection between higher incarceration rates and higher violent crime rates. If you are a drug felon, you are barred from public housing. You are ineligible for food stamps. You're forced to check the box on employment applications marking yourself as a convicted felon. A criminal record has been shown to reduce the likelihood of getting a callback or job offer by as much as 50%. The negative impact of a criminal record for an African-American job applicant is twice as large as for a white applicant. In 2006, 1 in 106 white men was behind bars. For Black men, it was 1 in 14. For Black men between the age of 20 and 35, the age where families are built, It's 1 in 9. Overall, African Americans and white Americans use drugs at roughly the same rate, but the imprisonment rate of African Americans for drug charges is over 6 times that of whites. It may be true that there isn't explicit racism in our legal system anymore, but it doesn't mean justice is blind. A law in Georgia permitted prosecutors to seek life imprisonment for a second drug offense. Over the period of the study, this law was used against 1% of white second-time offenders and 16% of black second-time offenders. As a result, 98% of prisoners serving life sentences under this law were black. Study: African American youth in the U.S. make up 16% of all youth, but 28% of all juvenile arrests, 35% of youth sent to adult court instead of juvenile court, and 58% of youth admitted to adult state prison. Study: blacks on the New Jersey Turnpike make up 15% of all drivers, but 42% of all stops by police and 73% of all arrests. Among all drivers stopped, white drivers were 2 times more likely than black drivers to be carrying drugs. Study: Volusia County, Florida. 5% of drivers were black or Latino, but 80% of drivers stopped were black or Latino. Study: Oakland, California. Black drivers are twice as likely as white drivers to be stopped and 3 times more likely to be searched. In Minneapolis, Philando Castile had been pulled 49 times in 13 years, mostly for minor infractions. The 49th time he was pulled over, he was shot by the officer while sitting inside his car. He'd been pulled over for a broken taillight. Chuck Colson's organization, Prison Fellowship, recently organized a manifesto that was signed by evangelical leaders asserting that our over-reliance on incarceration fails to make us safer or restore the people and communities who have been harmed. Unconscious bias seeps into schools too, as white teachers often assume black students are less intelligent than they actually are. A gifted student usually has to be recommended by a teacher to move to a gifted track. When a teacher is black, an equally gifted white and black student have comparable chances of being recommended. When the teacher is white, the black student's odds of being recommended are cut in half. Are white teachers racist? No. Are they affected by bias? Yes. And it affects black students every day. So where are we? The average black household has 1/10 the wealth of the average white household. This didn't happen by accident. It happened by policy. We, the majority culture, told them where they could live and where they couldn't. Then we moved most of the jobs to the places we told them they couldn't live. When the predictable explosion of unemployment and poverty resulted in a predictable increase in drug use and crime, we criminalized the problem. We built $19 billion of new jails and sold grenade launchers to the police. As a result, a white boy born in America today has a 1 in 23 chance of going to prison in his lifetime. For a black boy, it's 1 in 4. And that is why people are angry. Many people care deeply about these issues. Many have suggested solutions. Some of those have been tested, with results ranging from moderate success to abject failure. I'm not here to tell you what the right solutions are, because I don't know. I'm just here to ask you to do one thing. It's the thing that begins every journey to a solution for every problem. What am I asking you to do? Care.
All right. Let's see, how many people do we have here? The breakout groups. We're going to put 3 per room.
Sandra, why don't we have the person with the longest hair will go first.
Sounds good to me. All right. Should have thought of this before, huh? how many, I said we had 23. 23, let's see. 8. Okay, so I'm gonna do 8 rooms because Eunice and Joan and I could be together. Okay. Where's the thing here? So everybody has something to talk about?
So the person with the longest hair will start pretty quickly and be timed for 3 minutes. Can you do that automatically, Sandra?
I'm going to give you 15 minutes. And then that way you'll have time to, you know, make sure everybody has a chance to talk. Yeah, to share. What did you say, Eunice? I didn't hear.
Can you have it timed automatically with Zoom?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to give them 15 minutes.
Okay, and there's a little blue notice when it's time to change.
You'll get a notice across the screen that says breakout room ending in 60 seconds.
Well, I mean, when the person changes after 3 minutes?
You have to keep your own 3 minutes.
Oh,
I can't do that. You can't do that. You have to somebody in there has to keep a timer. Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. So let's see. Let me finish. What did I say? 15 minutes.
So if we're gonna have 15 minutes for 3 people, can we have more than 3 minutes? Then what will we do with the leftover time?
Then if you get through and you have some time left over, then you may share it the way you want to.
Okay.
Okay. You can give somebody some more, but everybody has to have 3 minutes. And if you do have extra time and you still don't get to talk to people about what they said, okay, you can just share some more about what you think. You understand? Okay. All right. So let me see what we have here. So we have 15 minutes and we have 8 rooms and 3 people per room. So ready? Goodbye. See y'all later. Okay. Let's see.
Join.
Oh, you know what I'm thinking? I don't think I got us in the rooms together, Eunice. Join. I'm going to move some of you people around. Move to. Eunice. 2, 8. 2, 8. 5. Let's see where's Jeff. Move 2, 3. Just 7, 2, 8.
You know what, Sandra? I was with 2 people and
Wait, Jen, hold on just a minute. Hold on just a second.
we need to go in with Verona.
All right, so there's Phyllis. Phyllis has not joined, but where's Phyllis? I'm joining.
Hello, how are you?
Phyllis should be in, let's see, Phyllis, it says.
She should be in with Judith and Verona.
She should be in room 1. But
because I just got taken out of that room.
I took you out of there. I took you out of there so that you and Joan and I could be together. So
where's Joan?
She's with you.
No, she isn't.
All right, so Joan, it says move. I moved her out of
You
there.
need to put somebody with Verona right now, because there's just two of them there.
Dorothy and Phyllis. It says Phyllis is not joined. I don't know why she hasn't joined. All right, so I'm going to move her. There it is. Okay, it just took time.
And Dorothy is with you and I right now. I see Dorothy's and iPad.
Yeah, she should be in room 5.
She needs to join. And Joan, she's not with us yet.
Hold on just a second. Okay, so all right, so there's Dorothy's gone. It's just, it takes time for them to move sometimes. And we've got a lot of rooms open. All right, and I moved Joan out of that room, so I don't know where she is right now. Move to, because I have her in 8. I think she just isn't getting here yet.
Maybe she hasn't joined.
She's not someplace else. I wonder where she is, Phyllis. Everybody else is here.
Oh, there she is.
I was in a room by myself. I just texted you, Eunice, because I didn't know what to do.
Ah! Patience, patience, patience. Ah. Okay, so come on. Where am I? Participants, breakout rooms. Leave. Breakout. Jeez, how did they get to it? Me too. Let's see. Nikki was assigned to. Stella. Two. 4. Move to 4. Move to 4. Move. Oh, holy cow. Move to 8. And move to 8. And move to 8. jeez. Oh, well. God, I don't know what to do. I don't know what else to do. Everybody else is joined. So nobody is unassigned. I wonder if these guys are all together. What do you do when they're not joined? Let me do my screen sharing here. Okay, so in this portion, our group sharing, we have 3 questions when you share. It's down the section here. What do you like about being a person of your race? What is something you do not like about being a person of your race? And what is something you never want a person to say to you about your race? Okay, 3 questions. 1, what do you like about being a person of your race? What is something you do not like about being a person of your race? Something you like, something you don't like. And what is something that you never want a person to say to you about your race? You know, like people say stuff, you know, like, can I touch your hair? You know, those kind of things, you know. Let me stop sharing here. And we all have things that people say to us and we go like, ta-da! Hits a button, you know, and you want to just go psh, smack them or something, okay? But you can't. But you can talk about it here. So those are the 3 questions that we want to share on this evening. Now, I have a timer here somewhere. I'll go get it. And we get 2 minutes to answer that. And we do it's the same thing that we did before, except we get 2 minutes instead of 3 minutes because there's so many of us, and we'll share with the whole group, okay? Instead of you're just in a small group, okay? And so you think about who wants to go first. I'll be right back. Okay, same rules as before. No commenting on what somebody else said. And everybody is listening, okay? When you are ready to go, just raise your hand and then unmute yourself, okay? All right, Verona.
What I love about being my race is our strength, resilience, tenacity, and our verb. What I do not like about being my race is that I get on a form of public transportation, even an airplane where I was working, and people shy away as if I'm going to do something to them just because of the color of my skin. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I don't want people to say to me about my race is, whoa, you don't act like the rest of them. You're different.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, thank you. Who's next?
Three of them.
Okay, Gloria. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Sorry, trying to be a good citizen and be quiet.
Okay.
What I like about being a Black person is I love our strength. I love our resilience. I love the love that we share, that unrequited love. I mean, we love everybody irregardless. And I think after seeing that video, now I know why. Mm-hmm. Something that I don't like, as Verona shared earlier, I don't like it when people pull away like I'm going to do something harmful. I don't like to be prejudged just by saying hello. And I think that for me, I never want a person to you know, put me in this little box, this category that, well, she's Black, so therefore, you know, she's got thuggish behaviors or things that she's going to come across even before I open my mouth. Or they'll say, you're an Oreo, Black on the outside, white on the inside.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Next. Okay, Zizi.
Well, I was having a hard time figuring out what I liked about having white skin. I'm half Portuguese. I can tell you all the things I like about being Portuguese. So I don't find much that I like about being a white person, a white skinned person. What I don't like is I don't like to be clumped in with the rest, people assuming that because I have light skin that I share the history and the opinions of racism and bias, and that's something I really don't like at all. And what I really don't like is if people assume that I don't understand, because when I grew up, there was a lot of anti-Portuguese in San Jose, and very vocal about it. And people would say that things around me, not knowing that I was Portuguese, and sitting there listening and sharing with them that I'm Portuguese and you're talking about me, calling me those names, you know. And but in terms of the first question, that was very difficult to try to find something that I liked, because there's not much. I haven't ever much liked having white skin. So anyway, I'm sort of anti myself. Isn't that interesting? That's it. Thank you.
And what do you want people not to say to you?
I don't know. You're white. You don't understand.
Okay.
You don't understand. You're white.
Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. Who's next? So I have two screens. Okay, and George.
Okay. Hello. You know, they say if you're a gay man after 40 that you're invisible on the street to other gay men. The thing I like about being white, an old white guy now, is I'm mostly invisible. So I'm not a Black person walking into a store. I'm not a Hispanic. I'm a white guy, so most people don't see me. And I really like that. I like being invisible. And what I don't like about being a white man, I think that the white brand is kind of tainted, like evangelical Christianity. And, you know, it's like when somebody wears a cross, it kind of creeps me out now, you know. So I don't like being associated, like Zizi was saying, that people would assume that I'm an angry white man who's bigoted against everybody. I have a different history. I have a history of being gay. I've grown up with depression, so I understand it somewhat. It's different than having Black skin, but I can empathize more than maybe an old angry white guy could do. So I don't like that kind of assumption. And I hate, somebody said they don't like people to touch their hair. I'm a hairdresser. I don't like people to touch my hair. But really, I've been skinny all my life, and I hate people saying to me, oh, you're so thin. I hate that. I know most people, that's the opposite thing. You know, they're worried about their weight being heavy. But all my life, people have said to me, oh, you're so thin. You're so thin. I hate that. Don't say it. Don't make any comments about people's bodies. So that's my stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next. Patricia.
What I like about being white, in retrospect, is the magical childhood that I had. I only grew up on a military base, so it was incredibly safe to go out in the mornings at 9 a.m. and run free until dinner time. And part of that's because I was white, and part of that's just because of the time and where I was. But I love that I had that experience. What I hate about being white is my new awareness of what the price of privilege was. I didn't have to pay it. Now it's just right in my face. And what I would want, but never want anyone to say about me is that I was not willing to open my heart and my mind to change.
Okay, thank you. Ooh, I forgot. I'm supposed to be timing people, huh? You've been doing a great job. We'll just keep on like we're doing. Okay, who's next? Deborah. You need to unmute yourself.
I don't know how.
Okay.
Mute my audio.
There you go.
I really actually love being English in America. I think most of you grew up with a lot of bad English TV that you loved, so I tend to get serious kudos and prejudice for being English. So I don't really have a problem with that at all. I don't like a lot of what white people are doing, the arsehole white people who are really giving us a terrible name. There goes the cat. What don't I like? I had a really bad time when I came here first, and I've been here more than half my life now in America. So even though I have my accent still, is when people say, "Oh, butter, can I have some butter?" and take the piss out of the way I talk. So that gives me a hard time. But other than that, I like being me, and I happen to be white. So that's a bit how it is. And I like other people, whatever color they are, because they're who they are. So there's lovely people right here. I can see so many of you, and it's just lovely to know that, you know, Verona's there beaming at me, and I can love Verona, and it does matter, and it doesn't matter that she's black. I get it. It's very difficult for me even to say black. It was not a good word. You know, I tried to work very hard to say African Americans, and now I can say black with a capital B, and I understand a lot more from being educated. And I honor your resilience and your courage as a race. I think that's what I'm saying.
All right, thanks, Deborah. So I want to remind us, we're talking about what it is we don't like other people to say about our race.
Oh,
personalize it, okay? This is not about, you know, you personally, okay? Because people say things that have to do with your whole race, as opposed to, you know, you specifically. Do you get what I'm saying? You get the difference?
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Let's have somebody else. Okay. Yeah. Let's have somebody else say something. Who else has their hand up?
Sandra, I think the phone number one keeps lighting up. Maybe they want to share.
This
you
phone,
might ask.
the one is 133.
Yeah.
All right. You're the person on the telephone. Who are you?
Deborah Johns.
Oh, okay. Deborah, did you want to share?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
You said the first question was, what do I like about myself, race?
About your race. What do you like about your race? What you don't like about your race? And what you don't want anyone ever to say to you about your race?
Well, you know, what I like about my race is the tenacity and the strength of it. What I don't like about my race is people have a tendency to blame others sometimes for their own problems that they create. And for number three, and what's the third one is what I hate about it? what you don't want somebody to tell you about your race, you know, like. Well, want somebody to point out something like it's obviously, you know, a Black problem, and it's not, because people are people, and I find that we all have the same problems. So sometimes the way that they say things, they make it look like it's specifically a problem of your race, when it's not. It's a people problem.
Okay.
You know, everybody, if you look, they may not speak or look the same way, but we all have the same problem.
Right. Yep. Okay, thank you. All right. Next. We still have a few minutes left. Mark?
Hi, yeah. Thank you for doing this, by the way. This is amazing. It's got me outside of my comfort zone.
Great, I love that.
So, what do you like? You know, in a general sense, I like my heritage. I don't know if that's the same thing or not. I'm happy. You know, I love being Italian, German, and where that came from. I don't want to comment on what George said, but I'm also a gay man over 40, so I have a lot of similar things going on with that. I'm invisible. You know, I didn't have to. I didn't think these things didn't cross my mind. I never thought about it, you know, and I got deeper in our conversation, but that's part of it, I guess, that I like. What I don't like is I'm ashamed of it. You know, I'm ashamed now that I didn't know a lot more than I perhaps should have known over the years. I don't like about my race is arrogance and ignorance. And I'm wondering where all the white men are on this call.
Good question.
The white straight men, by the way. That's what I meant to say. And what do I not like? I don't want people to think I don't understand about my race. I don't think we all, you know, we'll lump us all into one. We don't understand that I'm, I would like, I guess that's it. I just don't want to be thought of that way. I know I've spent a lot of time pushing that away. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Right.
Which is kind of a detriment, that I don't want to hear that you don't know, you don't understand. Because that's why I just don't want to say anything. So, but that's what I'm afraid of, I guess. Yeah. So, thanks for sharing.
All right. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. All right. Who would like to be next? Stella, and then Ellen. Okay, you have to unmute. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
What do I like? I really couldn't think of anything that as just specific to race that I like. I always wanted to have darker skin, and I always wanted dreadlocks, which this is quite funny because it's not true. Yeah. And I never understood why I couldn't have that. And so I don't know whether I like any specific thing about being a white woman at this point, or ever. I don't know. I don't know whether it really matters to me. What I don't like is being a white privileged girl right now in this time. Like, yeah, that's hard for me. What I don't want anyone to say to me is to assume I won't get it. You don't understand. You get it. You won't get it. You don't understand. You know, so there's some shame around being a privileged white woman right now for me. I think Mark mentioned something about that. That's true for me too. That fear of, you know, not wanting to say the wrong thing, to want to be part of the solution, blah, blah, blah. So I definitely was stretched out of my comfort zone today. I had two great partners with Lily and Connie. So that was a great experience for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Stella. Okay, Ellen, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
So what I like about being white at this time in history is that I really prefer uncomfortable conversations. I don't like surface conversations. I like deep and complicated and scary conversations. I'm not that uncomfortable with it. And so I feel like I get to have a lot of those right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what do I not, what is it I don't like about my race? Is that it?
Yes, what do you don't like?
Yeah, okay. So what I don't like is white privilege, white male privilege, and terror. I mean, white terrorists. So the Ku Klux Klan. That's what I don't like. And then what is it I hate people to say or to say to me? It's more along those lines of, well, to make assumptions about me. I don't know if I can give examples, but I don't like people to make assumptions about what I believe just based on who I am without knowing who I am.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, mute myself again?
Yeah, you can mute yourself.
Okay.
All right, someone else? Let's see, it is 8:19. We still have a few more minutes. Time for some more. Lily and then Connie. You have to unmute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, what do I like about being African American? I like the strength of our, our ancestors, and this, because if they weren't strong and they didn't have that, will to survive, well, we wouldn't be here. I don't think they were happy, being that, in that condition, but they survived, and that's what I'm, proud of that, to be Black. What I don't like about being African American is the Black on Black crime. Even though I can understand, that there's a lot behind it, and I do believe that as a community and as a world community, we are working on that, even though it may not seem like it, but it. And the thing that I don't like for people to ask me about my race is the why do we say Black lives matters and we don't say all lives matters? It seems like no matter how you explain it, it just I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't get it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Connie and then Kathy.
Okay. What I do love about my race is the diversity.
Yes.
It reminds me of a Nina Simone song, For Women. It reminds me of Indy Irie about her hair, that song. She talks about different ways that it's a new song out for her, but they play it a lot on Sirius FM. But the diversity, I mean, that's just just blows me away. And it's like I'm sitting back, seeing all this, and it's like I'm inside watching all this, going, wow, And okay, what I hate is that's a heavy word for me. Hate.
It wasn't hate, it was dislike.
Dislike.
It's like, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, what I dislike is I run into everybody's supposed to feel the same a lot. And we don't. But we're afraid to say we don't a lot of times. And when you do, everybody looks at you like you're crazy. If you have a different way of looking at stuff. Okay. What I don't like somebody that I have dealt with in my life is
people saying, if you just lose a little weight, you fit in better. You would blend in better. You would, you know, that was the attack on me all my life. So maybe nobody else is running into that. But it was like, I'd be accepted by the world if I was a certain image, form, shape. So.
All right. Thanks, Connie. And Kathy.
So it would be easier for me to say what I like about my culture, but to talk about my race, like being a white person, it's the same thing that I'm now disliking, and that is white privilege. I feel like it would be dishonest for me to say that I didn't benefit from white privilege, and I even have, you know, like that. It was good to not have to deal with the stress and the danger that Black people have to deal with. And yet now that's the thing that I daily am trying to recover from, like white supremacist programming and white privilege. So it's kind of interesting to hold that. But I was very fortunate, you know, I had a really beautiful childhood, and a lot of things that my privilege got me that maybe are even what's equipping me to wake up around that privilege now and try to heal from it and stop it. Because I don't want to be part of it. So the fact that I have, probably the thing I dislike the most about being white is the fact that I have benefited from something that's so wrong and terrible for me now. Like, it's just the more I learn about it and think about it, it's like, it makes me sick to my stomach. And the fact that I can't understand, I mean, as much as I try to be empathetic, I would never say that I could actually really understand what it's like to be Black in America. I try to understand that. And I am a deeply empathetic person, but I have not had that experience. And so, I wish I could actually truly experience it so I could truly understand, but fortunately I am very empathetic, so I do my best, but and I'm really trying to feel into what feels like colonialism for people of color, Black people. So that's my journey. I think the thing that I dislike the most being said about white people is that we have no culture. Because there's a lot of, you know, like I relish in my Irish culture, and, you know, so that's probably the thing that I've heard that I don't like.
Thank you, Kathy. It is 8:27, and Reverend Jones is going to do a closing for us. So I would just like to stop now. I want to thank you all so much for, first of all, showing up, and second of all, for being so honest and open and willing to share. And these are not easy things to deal with. I totally understand that. And, you know, Eunice and Joan and I have dealt with them over in various ways over the years. And so we are so happy that, that you want to be on the journey with us. Really. And, you know, the thing is that being a part of Science of Mind for all these years, I started in the 70s, and being a part of the Science of Mind all these years has really, really helped me in becoming very inclusive and looking at people as people and not as, you know, whatever race they are, and yet at the same time recognizing that we're all different. I wrote I'm writing these inspirational things for my congregation while we're out. And last week, I came across Swedenborg, a quote by him. Somebody, he calls, what did he call it? Distinguishable unity, or distinguishable oneness. Instead of thinking in terms of, you know, all our differences, it's that we are one, but we're distinguished in terms of our bodies and our creativity and the lives that we live and whatever. And so each one of us is distinguishable. And so we're each distinct. And I thought that just, I mean, that just made me feel so great, because it's true, for one thing. And the other thing, it levels the playing field in the sense that we're all one, but we all are distinguished one from the other in terms of who we are and who we show up to be. And the skin we happen to be in is just the skin we happen to be in, you know? So just like we love our dogs, regardless of what, you know, they're labradoodles or bull terriers or pups or whatever they are, you know, we just distinguish them as dogs, you know, of different breeds. And that's the same. We're not different breeds. You know what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying. Okay. I love you all. I thank you all so much. And Reverend Joan?
Just a second.
Reverend Eunice, want to say something?
Eunice wants to say something, yeah.
If you'd like to have another one of these conversations, maybe on a different aspect or a different version, if you could just raise your hand real quick so we could see. Should we schedule another one in a couple of weeks?
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll let you know.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do, and we'll mix up the whatever we're doing. Do you like having the videos?
Yes.
Yeah, the videos really give us a lot of information. Yeah, in a short amount of time.
I would love to have access to that video because it's stunning.
Okay,
stunning.
I'll tell you what it is. It's
yes, me too.
Write this down. I will tell you. It's called Holy, Holy, Post, P-O-S-T, Race in America, and it's on YouTube. And by the way, it was loaded June 14th. So it was right during the protests that he did this, and that's why he said, you know, why people were angry. That's why he was addressing that. But his name is Phil, P-H-I-L, V-I-S-C-H-E-R. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Yeah.
I would like to ask, because I spaced out and got here late, and this is so wonderful. I noticed your recording. Is there a way for me to get the recording and see what I missed?
Let me see. I'm trying to think of. Does anybody have any objection to her having the video? Okay. No. Yeah, we could do that. We could put it on YouTube, and we can put it on our church. I'll do this. I'll ask Marcia to put it on our church YouTube channel, and then you can go to CSL West Georgia YouTube channel, and that's where you'll find it. Okay, and then that way it's not all out in the public. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Sandra, I have a question.
Yeah.
Could we do this maybe on a Thursday night sometime? Because Ruth works on Tuesday nights. She happened to be off the first time on because it was Papa's birthday.
I can't ever do it on a Thursday. I've got a class that I'm doing for several weeks now.
Yeah, she does. She works Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I don't know if any of the other days are available, but
yeah, we'll have to. We'll look at trading it around some. But I for sure I can't do a Thursday. So. But we can look at doing other nights. Yeah. And we can also do this on a Sunday, you know. I mean, there's nothing to preclude us.
She works on Sundays. That's unfortunate. So she leaves at 1 and she's not home until 1 a.m. So she works at the hospital. So she's doing
that's what the video is for.
If you don't mind me sharing it with her, she'd love to see it.
Yeah, no, that's why we're going to put it on our church YouTube channel.
Thank you.
I'll have Marcia loaded up there because it's on my computer. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all so much. And Reverend Joan? Yeah.
Oh, Judith has something.
Or she just
waving goodbye. She's waving goodbye. All right.
That's all. All right. Joan's going to do a closing for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Eunice. Thank you, everybody, for being here. So appreciate it. I just want to, before I do the prayer, say about the Black Lives Matter. My 12-year-old granddaughter asked me last week, what do you think about Black Lives Matter? And we talked about it, and she said, until Black Lives Matter, all lives can't matter. Because, the whole thing of everybody saying all lives matter. And I just thought, okay, and she gets it at a deep level, and this younger generation does, and it's really beautiful. Yeah. So, yes. Yep. All right, on that note, let's just turn within once again, and I will be brief and lasered here. I give thanks for this time together. I give thanks for the way Spirit has shown up in and through and as each one of us. I give thanks to know that this time together has lifted the vibration of the planet, for we are open, receptive, available. As we go forth into our seeming separate ways, we are always in each other's hearts, always in each other's minds and souls. And so I give thanks for this. We are blessed as we go forth to the rest of our day or evening. And so it is. Amen.
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 Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.